What's up, you stupid f***ing Godzilla nerds? Killer Kaiju here. Today I have a new acquisition of mine I'm going to be talking about, which is the movie monster series Godzilla 1964. That's Godzilla vs. Mothra, if you don't know. Classic Showa movie. I think it's one of the first instances of where you had two Toho monsters actually fighting against each other, because prior to that had been Godzilla, then Anguirus, and Kong, and Kong doesn't really count. So that's cool right there. One of my favorite characteristics about this suit design is his eyebrows. It's almost like Cookie Monster-esque. It's one of my favorite things about this suit design. Any of the classic Showa designs, they kind of have that goofiness to them. It's one of my favorite things about the earlier Godzilla movies, and that is very on display here. In terms of articulation, as you can see, his arms are going to go all the way around, but you kind of have to force it as his claws will scratch his thighs. Not really in love with that. Same with the legs. You're going to get, you know, pretty standard stuff here. 360. Gonna kind of circle all the way around. His head even moves. Neato. Mosquito. I always think that's funny that they can do that. As far as paint job goes, it's a Godzilla himself, you know what I mean? So there's not a ton of variability in color that you're gonna get usually. You know, he's that kind of gray, blue color with, you know, some little highlights here. Yellow highlights on the toes and the claws, some pretty good stuff. The eyebrows kind of have a slight beigeier color to them to kind of highlight them. And the spines are more of like a white color. Like I said, you can't really get super complicated with Godzilla, or typically you're not going to get super complicated with Godzilla, so this is spot on as far as I'm concerned. As in typical Bandai fashion, you can see they did not paint the tail. It's not completely finished. Is anybody surprised by this? I'm not. There is a little bit of sloppiness on the spines, especially on kind of these interior parts. It's very obvious they just kind of sprayed right here, as you can see. The interior is just kind of sloppily done. It just they just got the outside there. Always a bit of a bummer. Let's go ahead and take a look at some detail on this figure. Some things that I really like are these folds molded into the sculpt here, giving it that old rubber suit look. I love that. His mouth is red and the paint there is nice, but I don't love that the teeth are painted on and not sculpted. The nose on him is pretty funny. It's very pig-like. I love that. It's super goofy. Got this brown highlighted ridge going down his chest, which I really like, and the scale detail hill is pretty good. For you feet people out there, we've got this. It says Bandai China and a serial number. And on this one, we've got the trademark for Toho. Neat. Here's his tag, and we've got his name, Godzilla 1964 on the front, along with a typical Godzilla pose. Some kanji and stuff I can't read on the inside. A silhouette of him on the back, typical stuff. Nothing really too special here with the tag, pretty standard. For funsies here, I have his predecessor and successor, the 63 and the 65 Godzilla from the 2004 Memorial Box. The 64 was originally from that set, the sculpt there, so I thought it would be fun to just kind of put them side by side here. Compared to the 63 right here. And compared to the 65. I quite like the 65. Moving on to my final thoughts here on the movie monster series Godzilla 1964. Starting with paint job. It's fine for the most part. I really like the highlights he's got on his eyebrows and on the middle of his chest. It's overall fine, I'd say. It's got some sloppy details on the back. The tail isn't finished. Ultimately, it's imperfect. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 6 out of 10 for paint. Now on to detail. Detail's gonna fare a little bit better. I really like the way the rough scale texture is done all over his body. I like the little folds that have made their way into the sculpt that are representative of that old suit look, like I said earlier. Yeah, the eyebrows look pretty good sculpted on there, and I really like his expression. All things considered, I'm going to go ahead and give detail an 8 out of 10 for this figure. Regarding value, this is supposed to be a Godzilla Store exclusive, you know, so you do kind of expect a little bit finer attention to detail and quality from a figure like that, so it's disappointing to see those little subtle details missed for a Godzilla Store exclusive. So value's going to go ahead and get a 2 out of 5 from me for that. Regarding price, the figure is I see being sold for around $40-ish, give or take a couple bucks. I don't think that's too bad. It's nice to have a Godzilla 1964 not a part of the memorial box to be able to add to your collection, so that's a plus, but there's going to be collectors looking to add this figure to their collection just because there are a limited number of figures of this suit design. So while it's certainly not a bad choice, I would have just loved to see a little finer attention to detail here. And that about wraps up my thoughts on the Movie Monster series Godzilla 1964. If you made it so far in this video, thanks, you stupid f***ing Godzilla nerds. I love you all so much. If you want a chance to win your own Godzilla 1964, I happen to have a spare, so go ahead and leave a comment down below with what you think the worst Godzilla suit design is and why, and the best answer will win. Thank you so much. I'll catch you Godzilla nerds later. Peace.